Hi guys, welcome to the Ground Pounder series, and today we're going to cover the Alice pack. Now, I carried the Alice pack for many years as a civilian. I did not carry it in the armed forces, but I know a great deal of people who did. And so I've got a lot of love-hate for this pack, to be straight up and honest with you. Love because it was so adaptable. Hate because it never fit me right. No matter what I did, it just never seemed to fit. But I will share with you all the tips and tricks that I know of how to make this pack work the best in a civilian bushcraft, woodcraft type camping backpack, or prepper survival, etc. We will go over some of the things that were the idea that the military had for it that worked, and some of them that just didn't fly like they expected. So, I went and picked this one up, and this one is as new, however it's aged. This is a 1980s type of Alice pack. It's got the full suspenders, and it's got the frame, all the pads, and all the components to it. So we're going to talk about this. So first, let's start with the material. It's a type of nylon, Condura type nylon, that when it was brand new from the factory, it had some water repellent capabilities. Over time, this goes away. And so if you get one of these packs and you want to make it more water repellent, I suggest you get some of the spray silicone waterproofing. You'll find this often in the camping section at Walmart or certain places that carry camping gear. And it's a spray for putting on the packs, gear, clothing, etc. And it does a good job. It will bead water if you do it correctly. And I would recommend 2 coats. Now, I would take it off the frame. I would take a nice bright sunny day to do this, and I would turn the pack inside out, and I would give the inside of the pack a good coating. I would then allow it to dry for at least 45 minutes to an hour, and then I would give it a second coating. Then I would allow that to dry a full 24 plus hours. Then I would turn the pack back right side out and do the outside of it that way. I have done Alice packs like that, and it would repel water afterwards to help keep your gear dry. But we're going to do other tricks with that. But that's the basic. Now, starting with the flap, you will see 2 little Velcros right here, and this opens up. Underneath, as you can see, this one is oxidized over time. It had a rubber coating. This rubber coating has had it on this one. That's true. This is at least a 30 to 40 year old pack. Even if it's never been issued, that coating is suspect. They dry out over time. Now, what could I do to improve this? Well, Flex Seal. You can go get Flex Seal and repaint this with it. Sand it down roughly with a Scotch-Brite pad or something, and then paint it with Flex Seal, and it will be like it was when it was issued. The object of the game was that once this was cinched up, the pack was cinched closed like this. This flap would come over the top and keep water from coming straight in the top. However, notice this small opening, the inside top is not coated. It's just the bottom of it was coated. Well, that meant that in a heavy rain, as this top cover leaked, this bag became a balloon of water because it would all pile down here at the bottom, and you ended up with 2 to 3 inches of water. Yes, it would leak out around the Velcro. But one of mine, I learned the trick of, if it was going to be a heavy rain, I would actually open that up and put like 2 sticks right there and stick it kind of loose around that so the water could go ahead and run out of it. If you spray silicone it, you will take care of that problem. But this was always meant to be a quick grab for small things, real small things. And this opening is not very big at all, just big enough to get your hand into. So you're not going to carry big, bulky stuff in here. Some guys like to take small sil nylon rain sets and stuff and stick up in there, and that's perfectly viable. But for me, I want that up there to be a compass pocket. I want to be someplace I can put my compass, put my map, etc., and not worry about them getting wet. So I'm either going to put it inside of a Velcro bag or some other waterproof bag and put it in there. and I'm going to waterproof the entire thing with that spray silicone to give me the maximum potential, excuse me, to keep it dry. Your lighter, a piece of fat wood, etc. A little light fire kit going up there. Something I don't have to dig down in the pack. I can just open this up right quick and grab a hold of it and utilize it. I've kept small flashlights, small med kits, things like that in here. This is a quick grab pouch, okay? But again, you're never going to store much up in here, and this is going to be cinched down. So remember, when I cinch this down, if something is fragile in here, like a compass, this strap could crack it because it'll be bearing down against whatever else is in the pack. So bear that in mind, okay? This is going to be under compression, so soft stuff. Your work gloves, great place to put your work gloves. Things like that go up in here, okay? Now, on the front you have 3 pockets. You also have a webbing strap right here that has the eyelets on it. This is so you can attach like a U.S. Army machete to that, or an entrenching tool, or several other things that when these were coming out still had the old World War II type hooks on it. 1911 holster had it, a bayonet holster had it. It was a way to attach it this way, and then you had a pass-through back here behind the pocket that allowed you to put it down into behind this pocket right here and slide it down like a bayonet. So you could slide something in there and keep it from being a problem. Both of these outer pockets have pass-throughs behind them, and the center one. So you could slide the handle of something like a tomahawk or something like that through here, and we'll talk about that in a second on how to secure that. Okay, these also had Alice loops on it where you could put small compass pouches, stuff like that. Some guys like to put a first aid pouch there, their compass pouch, a small fire kit, a small fishing kit, whatever, and hook it right here onto these loops on this web so that when the pack was open it was easily accessible, but the flap came down and kind of covered it. Now, let's also address the 800-pound gorilla in the room. These straps are horrible. The straps come over the top and come down here and go through a buckle at the bottom. Now, the original Vietnam type had a squeeze release down here for fast access. That invariably gave up the ghost eventually because it's a spring with a little steel pin. Dirt, mud, time, eventually it froze up, it bent, it didn't work anymore, it quit, and then the strap wouldn't stay adjusted. So by these 1980s, they went back to a plain buckle. These straps, when they were new, they were very slick. Now they're not. Now there's an oxidation process that happens to nylon over time, whether it's been issued or not. So if you took these straps and soaked them, I would take and put some Dawn dishwashing liquid and just put the whole pack in the bathtub. And take dishwashing soap and by your fingers rub this and really work them once they're wet. You can get a lot of flexibility back to them because what's happening is the oxidation between the fibers is causing it to jam up. By wetting it and using that soap, you can get that oxidation to let go. And so it returns to some suppleness. So you can restore some suppleness to it. But in a few minutes when we modify, these straps are going away. I'm going to show you what I do. They're hooked down here at the bottom. There are 2 large drain holes in the bottom of this model of Alice pack. My original Alice had 1 hole in the middle of it. And that was because, as you're going to see when we go inside in a minute, there was no way to keep water out of this pack. Because the way it was put together and set up, water was always going to get into it. And so this thing became a big, huge bag of water after a while. When you're marching in a driving rain, it was going to find its way in there. So you had to take steps to try to improve that. And we're going to cover that in just a minute. Also, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is when you sit the pack down, it falls forward. Because down here on the bottom, the frame sticks down further than the bag. Now you can alleviate this by carrying this sack without a frame. Okay, the frame gives you certain advantages and a lot of disadvantages. I've carried it both ways. Okay, for a light ruck, where I'm going to keep my load down to 20 pounds or less, without a frame is perfectly adequate. you know. I will simply hook my shoulder straps directly to the bag itself and use it as a rucksack, and that's my preferred way to carry it, really. But the frame does give you certain advantages, especially when you're loading up for heavier loads. You got more access points, you got more contact points with the frame. And so it will aid you when you're carrying the heavier loads on your back, because of the way it's designed. The Alice, as you can see, telescopes out a lot further away from your back. And we're going to do some stuff to try to alleviate that and pull it up. Okay? Also, because where those buckles are, and they've got a stop in them, so you can't take them completely out, you're supposed to slack the straps, push the straps to the side, and roll the top up, and roll your straps out of the way, so that you did not have to refeed them through that, and then you could just pull them back tight once you flip everything back together. Didn't work very well. You have a shock cord, cinch cord up here that's supposed to pull the bag together. Some of these work really well, some don't. Okay, quite often this cord is way too long, and we're going to talk about how advantages and disadvantages to that and ways of carrying. On the inside in here, and we're going to do this up close in a minute when we go to the inside, there is a loop right there that's purposely tied. There's a reason for that. We'll get to that in a minute. These cords are handy and available for like a carabiner with your car keys or something to clip and keep it inside the pack. That's good. The pouches on the outside are fairly roomy, and they have an adjustable belt and buckle. Again, the straps get where they don't want to adjust because they're so stiff. They become just so stiff over time. 2 snaps, and you have a pair of snaps down here. The typical way we would open and close these was simply by unsnapping it. We wouldn't worry about this buckle at all. It's got a keeper on it, so you couldn't. So you're supposed to grab this tab sticking up here and snatch it in order to open it up. And then to put it back, you hook your finger, because the loop is free tied. You put your finger behind it so that you could pull up and snap the snaps. If it was something I was going to need in a hurry real quick, I'd only snap the top snap, 1 snap only, to leave it a little looser so it's simpler to open it up. If I needed more security, I did double snaps, okay? And they're usually really good brass snaps that hold really well. Now, underneath the bottom, you have, like I said, the drain hole, and you also have 2 large loops right here. There was a sleeping bag carrier that would have fixed right here and attached through here. There were also compression straps that could go through here where you could put something like a bedroll or something down here to cinch it up. Several different things, but that's where that was for, is a pass-through to utilize for that. Now on the frame you got 2 slots right here. Those were for passing through, for anchoring, etc. And somebody got a horse back there. You got a shelf. The shelf was the thing you really need. If you'll notice on the edge of the shelf, you've got turn down tabs. The shelf sits on the frame like that, and then supposed to be a friction fit to push down in it. With it in place, the pack would sit up because the feet on the shelf keep it from falling forward. But how do you make the shelf stay on the frame? That shelf was there so if I didn't have the pack on and I was just using the pack frame, they were very much wanting to reach back to the old 1940s when everybody had the old pack frames and utilize them to carry 5-gallon jerry cans and etc. That's why that was adapted that way. Alright, now let's look inside. Inside you got this great big pocket in this strap. To me, this is one of the dumbest features of this pack. Now understand, when you pull it up, you got access to the bottom of the bag, like that. And for a bucket pack, I prefer that. Now let's open this up all the way so this gets as big as it gets. And then in military applications, there was this reinforced top pocket. See, it's got 2 big old heavy things. The problem with it is, this dang pocket is hard to adjust. This, another one of them squeezy clamps. If you go down too far, the fold of this material wedges underneath, and you can't press that hard enough to get it to let go. You got to lift the buckle up, squeeze it, and then wiggle this out up here, like that. Alright, and notice that this pocket is fully the size of the pack. So that's half the size of the pack. Now from a dividing point of view, I would put stuff down yonder in the bottom that I did not need immediately, and then open this up and put my quick grab stuff here in the top. But why did you put a buckle on it? Oh, you got to say, I know it was carrying radio batteries and ammunition and claymores and all kinds of military application. But this pocket is a detriment in this pack, in my opinion, for civilian use, because I can't waterproof this. I have to put a separate waterproofing element in here, like a bag or something to carry, because this is hooked to the back of the pack. There is no way, and I'm going to put something that allows me to waterproof the whole bag in here. So this is not going to be here. I'm going to cut this pocket out. I know that's sacrilege to a lot of you vets, but trust me, get rid of this and it makes it a whole lot better. Now all you're going to need is a pair of shears. So I'm going to now take and cut this pocket out because it's too hard to adjust. It doesn't do anything. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to bear down. We're going to get rid of that strap. Now let me take the time and I'm going to cut this out. Okay, modification number one, taking that damn pocket out of there. Now, I tried using this pocket for many years. I tried folding my stuff up like my clothes and putting underneath it and just opening it up and using it as the pack itself. It was invariably always a pain because if I've got to get to anything below it, I got to unload this entire top to get down to the bottom. If I wanted to waterproof the whole thing, I couldn't waterproof this without doing it separately. So it ended up being just a constant thing. I know other military put it in there as a shelf to carry radios, radio batteries, all kinds of stuff like that. I understand that. But in civilian, it was nothing but a detriment. So the best thing I ever did was get rid of that. Now, we talked about waterproof. The U.S. military issued a waterproof bag. This is one of the liners. It's officially called a bag waterproof clothing. Also can inflate it and use it for a flotation. This is for a large Alice. I always just get one large and utilize it. Now it has that rubberized coating that flap used to have, but this one is well intact. Now when you find one of these and you want to utilize it for your pack, you want to see if it's got a lot of holes in it. Get a nice bright light, hold it up like this and look into the hole and look for holes. A few little pinholes is not a big deal. You can put duct tape on it and seal it up, okay? But that's the idea. Find wherever there's a little hole, put your piece of duct tape on it, you're good. Now, I'm going to waterproof the inside of that bag so that I can carry it in the rain and not have it become a huge sack of water. By eliminating that shelf, I now got a one bucket to worry about. Okay, it's now my organization to put back in it rather than some built-in organization that doesn't work in civilian life. Now you look at this and you think, well, I'll put it in this way and I'll have this out of liner. But let's look at that for a second. When I put the pack up there, where's the wear and tear going to be? Going in and out. Well, this nice strong nylon would be on the inside against this nylon, wouldn't it? So I always turn these bags inside out. I put it inside out. Right, that's the black rubbers to the outside. Now when I put it in there, like that, this strong nylon is me putting my stuff in and out. That keeps it from wearing a hole in that rubber coating because of I'm rubbing on the nylon, not rubbing on the rubber coating. Okay? By putting it like that, I can now have the entire bag as a waterproof. I can put all my stuff into the middle of it right there. I can load all my gear into it, and then when I get done, I can take the top and simply fold it over, roll it and stick it back in, and have the flap hold it down. That will be more secure. Now if I'm expecting to have to ford water, like go across a river or something like that, in here on it there are these three loops. On the other side, there's a little bitty string. All I got to do is take this, fold it out flat like that, and take one side and start accordioning it into my hand, like that. Okay? Now I twist it. I'll take me a piece of bank line or something, I'll cinch it up blood tight, and that's relatively airproof. Now the whole pack floats very easily. So now it's a flotation device whenever I go into the water. If I'm trying to cross a river or whatever, I'm going to unhook the strap, just leave it hanging on me one strap, which will be the strap on the the uphill side. Excuse me. So as the water's coming this way, it'll be that side. So if I do fall down in the water, I can just slide my arm out of that pack. The pack's going to float. Okay, so if I step in a deep hole, I don't go bloop with that big old heavy weight on my back. It'll actually float and keep me from sinking. Okay, so that's the idea. Next, let's talk about that loop right up here I mentioned. Now let me zoom in close so you can see it. Okay, right here in the back there's a loop. The way this is tied and connected. What you do is you take your cinch cord and you're going to feed it up through there. After I get my gear in here, the pack's loaded, I'm going to take the cinch cord and I'm going to feed it through, and I'm going to pull it up till that cord lock goes over it, like that. Then I'm going to pull the pack tight and cinch up that. That cinches the whole load to the back of it. So that's how you lock this to lift this up and hold it up tight against the back of the pack. See, that's what I want. I want that right there to hold it against the back of the pack, and that's the loop for doing that. To get it out, all I gotta do is loosen it, come up, and it'll go right back through that loop, nice and generous, no problem. But that's what that loop's for, is to take this pack and pull it up into the back. That's why. If you don't have one, add one. Okay, next, I'm gonna take my pack, I'm gonna open up this cinch lock, and I'm gonna open it up wide open, big as it'd go. Okay? I now have a little too much. I'm going to cinch this down just a little. I'm going to open it up, big as it'll go, right there. So that's only about that much. I've seen some that's 18 more inches of cord. So cinch this cord up so you've got what you want, but that you don't have too much, okay? That's what we're trying to avoid, the too much. Now let me show you a little trick. Alright, I'm going to take an axe or something, okay? I'm going to take my cinch lock and I'm going to go up through that loop, and I'm going to pull that cinch lock through. This makes a loop right here. Now I'm going to take my axe and I'm going to put the axe through that loop and go down through my pass-through. Okay? Now I take that cord lock and I cinch it up and anchor it against the pack. That holds the axe, the machete, the whatever, underneath the flap of my pack and makes it easier for me to carry it, where it's not putting the whole weight here onto the top of that pouch. It makes it feel like it's hanging low. This way I'm putting the weight here, which is attaching it to the top of the frame, and so I'm carrying the weight higher and it feels better. And I can still open up the pack and just pull it out. So that's how you carry an axe or whatever on an Alice pack. Okay, next modification. Way too much adjustment on these small pouch. It's just a flap going everywhere. I want to adjust it to where it's at maximum open, right about there. And that means I got that thing crammed to do it like that. And then I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to fold it over like that. And I'm going to tape it to that strap underneath, okay? That way I can pull it tighter, but it doesn't get any looser. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to open and close it with this pull tab down here. But I want it to be where I can open it up as far as it goes, or cinch it down as tight as it can go, but I don't want a whole lot of extra. And by taking that 1/2 inch extra and folding it back over like that, I eliminate that. I ain't got that thing flopping all the time. And how we're going to secure that is going to be good old electrical tape. Good old electrical tape. I'm going to take that, pull her tight, go a couple of rounds around it, That way, in the odd situation where I did have to have a little extra, I could untape this and get it. But for 99% of the time, I don't need this. And so that makes it a cleaner look to me than having all these flaps going everywhere. It just drives you nuts. I'm going to adjust this to where it's maximum loose, size that I would need. Fold that under, tape back closed. Okay, now that I've secured those, I know what you're saying, but Blackie, your stuff might fall out of it. No, it's not. Because I'm going to put a waterproof liner into these bags. Okay? It's got a big drain hole in the bottom of it. But there's no way you're going to waterproof that side. It's always going to find a way in. But the U.S. Army issued these waterproof bags that you could, just like that other one, it's got a sil nylon coating. Okay? And so I'm going to just take and put it down in there like that. Now I've got something I can pack my gear in, and again I can just fold it over and stuff it back in, and it will hold the load in place where I'm not going to lose small things and stuff like that. This becomes then just a securing flap to keep the pocket from falling out. Now there's a pass-through like I showed you back there where I can hook various things on and run it through, etc., to make it work for carrying of a machete or whatever. And it works really well for that. Whenever you ain't got a great big old thing hooked to your machete, it will slide down in there. Oh, and while we're talking about the machete, you do realize that if you slide out the machete and you take your buck saw blade and slide it in the machete cover like that, you can then slide your machete in beside of it just like that and carry that. Now you got to be mindful of that. Don't grab it and hurt yourself. But the teeth are facing inward. So that's the way I can carry a buck saw blade and the machete on my Alice pack at one time. Put it on the side, put it across the bottom, wherever you like to carry it. But you could carry it that way and have a buck saw blade and that and be able to make you a buck saw in camp. Okay, next modification. These straps got to go. I do not care for these straps at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our shears and we're going to remove them. Now what I'm going to do is, there's a block right there and it goes all the way around. So I'm just going to cut that block off. I'm going to feed it through, take it out. Up here on the top, I'm going to pull it out of where it goes through the flap. I'm going to come up here where it's sewed into the frame, and as close as I can right there, I'm going to take it off. Just like that. I'll do that to both of them. Because we're going to upgrade this pack. Grab it, pull it just as tight as you can, and then shear it across. And that makes it kind of be down in behind. Okay. Now, I've got a pair of U.S. military cinch straps. I hope you can see that. But it's got a buckle on it, okay? So what I'm going to do is, it's got also a stop. I'm going to cut that stop off. But I'm going to secure it with duct tape in a minute. Alright, taking the strap off of the bottom end. I'm going to take the buckle on top, and there's a slightly flatter and slightly more top. It doesn't really matter. It's however you want to do it, where you want the label out or whatever. And you don't have to do this with a military issue one. It could simply be you found a set of cinch straps that you like that's got these buckles. Okay? I'm going to pass it through the flap loop right there. Run it up here almost to it. Now up here on the top you have your shoulder strap. We're going to trim off this 10 million mile long extra. Right here in the frame there is a welded in little guide right there for this strap to go through. I'm going to go through that guide and go straight down. Keeping my strap flat while I do it. And yes, this is fiddly. Once I get it through there, I'm going to go ahead and take off that shoulder strap, just in my way. Okay. Now, I'm taking the shoulder strap off. I'm going to go through that strap loop, stick my finger in the top right there so I can kind of guide it and push it downhill a little bit. I'm going to reach up under here and grab a hold of it and pull it. Okay, making sure my strap is flat. Okay, now coming to the back, I'm going to go underneath this cross member right there, and I'm going to go straight down. Flipping the pack over on the bottom. I'll come up and I'm going to go through the bottom loop of that adjustment buckle. Okay? Just like that. Now I'm going to come all the way back up. I'm going to take my buckle. I'm going to make sure I'm orientated the right way. I'm going to put it on just like that so that the adjustment's to the underside. Okay? Now I'm going to take it and adjust it. Taking this end, I need to burn that. I don't want that to start fraying. Okay, I burnt that in now so it's not going to fray out. Now, I have, those keepers come with a little elastic band. Okay, so I want to put that elastic band on here. I'm going to take my strap, I'm going to go through that elastic band, just like that. I'll come up, I'm going to anchor to here, come through the back, turn and come to the front, just like that. Alright, making sure this isn't rolled or anything. Slide that down here for that excess to be captured underneath. That's going to keep that strap from being a problem. I'll show you how to put a stop on that in a minute. Now we'll come up here to the pack and clip. Now we got where we can adjust this, coming all the way a 360 around this pack and cinch it down tight. Okay, Now if I don't want this to come from here, I want it to stay here, I want it to stay here, I can also go through that twice if I want to bind it up. This is going to be fine to me because I'm just going to cinch it. Okay, this strap is way too long and I will cut it to length in a minute. And let me do the other side and I'll be right back with you. Okay, now I'm coming up from the bottom. I could go through these loops, that's viable, but I'm going to reutilize these original straps. But what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take it, and I've gone through the bottom hole. Now I'm going to take it and go through the top hole, just like that, so it comes through. Now I pull it up snug, so it's just a guide is all it's doing. Okay. And that was my mistake earlier. I didn't do this. It's been about 20 years since I re-rigged an Alice. Alright, now I take my keeper, put it back on. And that's the advantage to this. I can take these straps loose. You know, I can pull it off the pack if I need to and readjust it in some other way. Whereas before, I was limited to what it was and it was always in the way. Now, I pull this down. I take and run this through there. Just like this. And that holds my excess. Go through. Come back over and down, and that holds my excess. Oops. Okay, now I've got it where I can just unclip and flip without having to worry about adjusting. I can adjust my strap to the need that I want, slide this keeper down here to keep it from being in the way, and have it where it's a quick pop on, pop off. My flap is adjustable now where it can ride up if it's a bigger pack or ride down. No problem. Okay. I've showed you the trick of running through the loop here and hanging this forward so that it makes my bag cinch up tighter to the frame. Now I've opened it up that with a waterproof liner, I can put my gear in here and it not get wet. I can keep my gear dry while I'm walking. All you gotta do is take that keeper, that cinch lock, pull it up tight, cinch it down and drop. Flip the bag closed, come up and go click, click, just like that. No problem. I've got a lot of adjustment and I'm good to go. Now let's look at the flaps, the back pad and the shoulder straps. Now, notice how there's a curve to this. There were several models of these at different times during the years. It has a quick disconnect right here. There's this little tab right here that you yank upwards and the flap just falls off of you, okay? Now, I'm going to take this strap, and the way it's supposed to be is this strap runs uphill so that you can adjust this to give yourself more length to let the pack stand more straight up in hill climbing, okay? Should not be running down, it should be running up. You can rig it either way, okay? But it's supposed to be actually running up. I don't like these little tabs. They always get up next to my ears and tickle me and make me think I got a bug on me or something. So I'm going to cut these off because I'm not doing mountain climbing with this and don't need to adjust these that often. If I did, I'll just reach up there and adjust it. Okay? Now, coming back to where that pass-through was, where we ran this strap through. Now we're going to take this one and run it through there again. This is going to be fiddly. You're going to have to just stick your finger down in there, start wiggling and wiggling until you get it to go between it. They will go together, they will pass through, but it's just going to be a problem. Just like that, I got it. Okay. Now I come over the top. I cinch in through the bottom connect bottom slot and come back up and go through the top slot, just like that. Now, when you fit this to you, I'm going to leave it long here in a second. I'm going to show you. We're going to take care of that. But since we're going to cut these off, let me show you a trick. Take it and cut it off at sort of an oblique angle, like that. Okay? Go ahead and burn it. That'll make it easier to go through that strap, cut at that angle. Now, making sure my strap isn't twisted or anything, I'm going to come up here. Now I'm going to, again, come in from the inside and try to force it up and in to that slot. Now that I've got it through here, I'm going to fold my buckle uphill, put the knot where that cross, it'll hook on that shelf and bring it up. Okay? I'm going to go through the buckle itself. Just like that. Get rid of that adjustment loop. Okay. Now when I put this on and I adjust it to where it fits me, then I'm going to trim these to length. Okay. I want them so I can put it up here and put a little tape right there to hold this. So what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to put the pack on. Making sure my pack straps are rolled the way I want. I'm going to cinch it down. Okay. Now I want this excess to be way out of my way. Okay, so I want the tip of that just past my shoulder right there. I want it so it's up there, but it's not so far. See, I can actually bring that up a little bit tighter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is slack it. Come up here. I'm going to bring it a little bit tighter. Just like that. Okay. Now, okay, now see how it, all the way it's going past my shoulder now to that. That's what I want. I want it to be up there so when I cinch this down and it's holding, I don't end up with it up here and there's too much gap there. So you see where I'm at. Okay, I want a little bit of a gap there, but not. I want that thing past my shoulder. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, now that I've got it adjusted to where I want, I'm going to take and I'm going to cut it so I can fold it in half like that and put a piece of tape on it. That'll give me about 2 inches or so of adjustment. That's all I'm going to need. I'm going to come up here about that far up. I'm going to cut off that excess. About the same thing, about that far up. I'm going to cut off that excess. Now I'm going to go ahead and burn it so it doesn't fray out. Only got to be in that flame just a second. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double it in half, back toward the buckle. I'm going to put a lip of tape around that. That's so it cannot come loose by accident. Now, I will be able to adjust it should I need to. I can just take the tape off and do it. But what it does is it keeps it from worrying me, from bugging me, because as you walk and you twist and you're doing all this stuff, it'll get to where it's end up tickling your neck, and this is jobbing you, and that's rubbing you, and that's strapping, and you'll throw it out of the way, and 5 steps later it's back against your neck, and it just drives me nuts, guys. I mean, so I make it so it's out of the way and it's done. I've still got that much adjustment, which is more than enough for whatever I'll ever need. But at the same time, it's also got all that excess out of the way. Fold it underneath, take my tape, pull it down good and tight, tape it so it stays flat, just like that. Alright, nice and clean. Alright, that's got my shoulder straps adjusted at the top. You of course know your up and down is going to be adjusted once I put it on. I prefer to slack them, put my pack on, pull my things down tight. If I need to get off in a hurry, I just hit the quick release, snap, and it falls off of me. I don't mind these long adjustments hanging down below me. It's any strap up here that's always going to, the wind's going to catch it, the limb's going to catch it, something's going to catch it, and it's always hanging up or being in the way. So let's eliminate them. Let's make life a lot easier for us, cleaner. Now you can see there's those new straps I put in that are running inside the frame. They're not going to bog me, they're not going to interfere with me. This also means that when I pull the pack tight, these pull tight as well. So I could slide something in back here on the back inside of the pack and cinch it. Some guys will take a machete and run it in through the frame right here, and the straps then will cinch it up where it won't come out. Okay? Quick and easy. Now, let's talk about and see how I made that where it's loose enough I can fold it out of the way. That allows me to go up to a tree and sit this, and I can sit here and lean back against my pack and use it as a lazy bag. Okay? Let's talk about this pad. And this pad is kind of misunderstood in many ways. Okay. On the frame, you have these two loops right here. And then you have, this is the pack. The pack comes inside, goes through this loop and comes back, and you cinch this down tight to hold this. I like to then take that tab and tuck it underneath where my shoulder straps comes through right here and hooks to this attachment point. The weak link on this pack is right in here or right up here. Okay? Why? In military applications, they'd put so much weight in these bags that the hips were staying still and the top of the pack was moving, so they were twisting in opposite directions as you walked, and that was the weak link. It would break right there. These packs got thrown a lot. When you told to dump your pack and you had 80 pounds in that pack and you hit the quick release and it hit this corner on the ground, that's where the shock went. So they break. In civilian life, they don't break that much because we don't carry that kind of weight. But it was something. I knew guys that would drill in right here all the way up, because the rivets through here, you can't put much. But they'd take a long piece of heavy gauge wire and run up in there to try and reinforce that, or take a piece of, half of a piece of pipe and weld or JB epoxy right there as a reinforcement for that. Civilian application, we ain't got to worry about it too much, guys. Okay. Here is the weight belt that hooks on. There's adjustment back here in the back. Most people have these too tight. They think straight across. Now, if this is straight across, blood tight, it holds the pack further out and it's further away from you. I want mine slacked up a little where it does this. It cups around me. Rather than holding out like this, I want to go up into this V right here. So I've got mine adjusted where it allows me to do this and come further in. Okay? Now let me show you wearing the pack right quick. I loosen up my lip cords and I loosen up my straps and I put them on. Once I get the pack on, then I grab my adjustment straps and I kind of hop up if I got a lot of weight in it and pull down. Okay, then I get my shoulders. All right, is this one too tight? Do I need to loosen this one up? Whatever. The sternum strap takes the weight off in here. Now it's hooked to me and I can center it up where it's centered straight. I can slide this up or down, whatever, but about this level is good on me. Now for the waist belt on it. Okay, adjust it out, make sure it's not twisted. Okay, like this. I hook it. I then push it downhill a little bit and I grab my 2 cinches and I pull out. I want my kidney pad to be where my belt, let me scoot down just a little bit, guys. My pants belt, the bottom edge of it should be even with my pants belt. So it's sitting on my hips. It's not so tight, so it's actually cupping around me. It's closer to me. I'm wanting to pull this weight as close to me as possible. You can see there's a gap right here. I can put my whole arm through that. Right there. That keeps air supply. It also gives a place you can put something in there. Something soft, like a pad, a quick sit pad, a pillow, whatever. I put them right there because it's not up against me. It lets air flow around me, but I do have a hand's width, I mean, that wide, a place behind my back to carry back there in my pack. Thus far, we have removed a bunch of excess. This has provided us with the best. Now you notice right here, this has got Velcro in it. It's got that adjustment. I'll tuck it or find a way to do it. I hate hanging straps. They're always going to be in my way, and they're always going to be doing this, flapping. So I'll tuck it underneath. I'll find a way to bind that sucker up in there and leave me alone. Okay. Now the quick disconnect right here. Quick disconnect. You have this tab right here. Now notice I've got this over it. You got this tab right here. When you snatch that tab, there's a single snap. It pops free. That comes up and there's a clip going into two rings interlocked. If I pull up, the strap just falls off of me, which is fantastic when crossing water or whatever. I can just put it back together like this. I really like these straps. Much better than the ones we had when I first started out. They were a pain in the butt. In fact, when these straps first came out, they were only Special Forces and elite teams could get them. And I knew guys that were paying bar tabs in order to get a pair of these straps off of somebody in special teams or whatever. So yeah, these were real handy. Now, we've waterproofed because I told you how to spray it with silicone. 2, we turned into one big pocket, much more usable. You can simply get a dry bag of some kind, or the bag that I talked about in surplus, or just some bag that's waterproof to put into it to carry my gear. Okay? I've made the straps now where it's just 2 quick buckles, pop, pop, and it flips open. I ain't got to be tangled up in straps all the time. I've set up my shoulder straps where they're in the proper position and all the excess is gone. So now this is clean around my neck. I can now turn my head or lean or whatever, and I ain't got some strap or something poking me all the time. In the pockets of the outside, I have cut off the excess, folded it over and attached it, and now I'm going to be carrying bags inside. Those bags can sometimes be hard to find. So what did we do for down and dirty for the small pouches? We used bread bags. You'd get a loaf of bread, we'd save the bag. If it was going to be real bad weather, we'd double bag, one inside the other. And those would be the bags that went into it. I could get quite a bit of gear in there and keep them relatively waterproof that way by simply twisting it, folding it over, and putting the flap back over. As long as you silicone the bag, you're going to be pretty good. It's going to take a real driving rain. If I'm going to be crossing water, then I want something I can actually seal up tight. But that allows this pack to float. So if I do slip and go into water, it acts as flotation. Now if I right now fell into water, boosh! How am I getting out of it? Well, I've got a quick detach chest strap, I got a quick detach belt strap, and I got something I can snatch and fall out, boop, 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 and it falls off of me. See? And so that's the advantage of this pack. Putting it into a canoe or something, I can quick detach the strap, click, click, put the strap over like a thwart or a center bar in the canoe, and then cross them and hook them instead of hooking them straight. I'll show you that right quick. Now when I get out of it, let me back up. Okay, whenever I've taken the pack off, I take these 2 straps that were my waist belt strap. I'm going to go one in and one out like that. Come up around, actually, excuse me. Come up around the frame, you got a big V down there. Right there. Okay. See the V? I go around the V, and then I clip my buckle back together. It's out of the way, and it allows me to keep that strap from going everywhere. Okay? I'm going to hook this up into a canoe or something, or an ATV or something. I've got a bar I can go across. All I got to do is snatch my disconnect off right here. Now, instead of me hooking the right one to the right side, I'll hook the right one to the left side over the bar. Okay? Be that bar and canoe, bar and an ATV, whatever. And so I can cross hook these up right quick to secure it to some piece of gear, so that the bag stays hooked to the canoe, or the bag stays hooked to the ATV, or whatever, and I don't have to worry about it going missing when I hit a bump. Alright, as I said, my straps are now long enough, I can, when they're not hooked, fold them over the side. I can sit it like this and lean back against a tree. I can also use that as a pillow. That hip pad, I have laid my pack down and used that as a pillow before too. Now, this part, it always falling over. That's where the shelf comes in. Now the shelf has a friction fit right there. You can close it up to make it a little tighter. However, the weight of it, of the pack sitting there, it will sit up as long as the shelf's in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole into the center of the shelf, and the hole will go through into the frame. Then I'm going to put a nut and washer onto it, tighten it up, a lock and washer, put a drop of fingernail polish on the nut and screw it together. It'll be there. So I can remove it should I desire to do it. But that puts a lower anchor point down here. I can slide something under the pack, something narrow right here, and hook it to all them holes in the pack in slots right there. Since I've made my straps so adjustable now, I can also take this and lift it up and put a bedroll up on top if I needed to by hooking here across the top and through that. But the last mod we're going to talk about is something they should have thought of for this, and it's a grab handle for this thing. Let me show you a down and dirty, super simple grab handle to put onto an Alice pack. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go by the auto parts store, and you're looking for a 3/8 inch fuel line. Okay? Then you're going to get you some number 36 bank line. What you're going to do, bank line is tarred and therefore stiff, is you're going to feed it down through it till it comes out the other end. And you're going to pull it, give yourself a big loop, and you're going to feed it back, leaving the loop on this end. There, got it to come out. Now, I want to not cut it off of the roll yet. I want plenty of slack. Now let's put this onto the pack. Okay, right here is my strap from my left side. Right here is my strap coming up to cinch the whole bag. Same thing on the other. I'm going to get on the outside of both of them, between this material and those straps, and that's where I want to go. So I'm going to take that big loop I made. See? I'm going to take that loop, and being careful not to pull, I'm going to give myself plenty of slack because I don't want to pull it accidentally back out of the tube. I'm going to pinch it to make a point, and I'm going to work it underneath and then back up on the outside of that strap. Yes, it's fiddly. I'm going to stick my finger up through the back and pull that loop down, and then I'm going to come up and push it up on the outside. And it's a pain, but you can do this. I have faith in you. Okay, the easiest way is right there. I'm going to go in the back side first because it's got more room in the front to fish it out. I'm going to take that loop and I'll push it down, run my hand in there till I feel that loop coming down. Okay, now I got it. Now I'm going to go around, stick my finger in the hole, put the loop on it, and pull that loop up just like that. Okay, now giving myself plenty of slack, I'm going to put that, go through that loop with the whole coil and everything. That'll make a lark's head. Alright, now pull that down kind of loose. Now I'm going to go and take up the slack, figuring to leave myself a pretty good bit of working material on this other side over here. I'm going to come down here about right there and I'm going to cut it off. So you see what we got? We got it hooked right there as a lark's head going over the frame. Slide the fuel line to it. Now I'm going to come right here on this side. I'm going to do the same thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lines, I'm going to push them down the back side, and I'm going to shove them back out the front side. You might have to take a tool of some kind to push in here to get enough slack to make this do this easily. First time I ever did this was a friend of mine was going to show me how to do it, and man was it ever a pain in the butt. I'm here to tell you. But I finally got it wrestled in there. And after I got it in and got it in place, I asked him, I said, now what do we do? He said, now you go do yours because that's my pack. Alright, now. Okay. Here's where I've got the loop has gone around. It's made a lark's head on this side. Now I'm going to push the tube all the way that way. I'm going to pull the tube down on this side. Okay. Now I'm going to take my two cords. Give myself some slack. I'm going to take my two cords. I'm going to open up the two cords and I'm going to go through the two cords first. Okay. Now when I pull that down tight, that's squeezing them. Okay. Just like that. Then I'm going to pull that cord tight. Pull the excess out tight. Like that. Okay. Now I'm going to come around. I'm going to go through twice. Pull that up. Really tight. I'm going to go on the inside. I'm going to go around twice. And I'm going to go around and put really tight. I'm going to come back to this side. I'm going to go around twice. Which means I'm going through the loop twice, I should say, I'm sorry. Pull it, and now I'm going to put a square knot up under that edge. Just like that. Now, cut off the excess. Just like that. Lean it over. Hit it with flame for just a second. Let that tar melt to itself. And now I have a quick grab handle on an Alice pack that folds out of the way when I don't need it. But I can easily grab, and that will always feel good on the hand. So, the Alice pack. My love-hate relationship with this bag that goes back a long way. Now, since we've adjusted now where these straps go all the way around, now when I pull it up, it's pulling the whole thing up and tight against me instead of it getting further and further away. By eliminating that inner pocket, I've turned it into a bucket, which is much more useful for us in bushcraft, woodscraft. That shelf just was always in the way. You know, you had to unload everything in order to get underneath it, or you just had to ignore it and shove it up here, and that buckle was held open. And life's short. No sense arguing with it. Okay. I've streamlined it by getting rid of excess. Now, these are still too long. We know that. As soon as I get home, I'll pack this thing solid full of something bulky and pack it to the maximum size I'm ever going to need. And I'll leave myself 2 or 3 inches of slack. And I'll cut these off, burn them, and I'll fix them. I'll double them in half and put a piece of tape there to hold it as a stop. Now that I've got it where the buckles are right here, pop, pop, flip open, I don't have to take so much time to get into it. Spray silicone the whole thing, inside and out, to make it waterproof or very water resistant. Put your cinch tab through that back loop back there to be able to pull everything up and tight. Do use some sort of liner bag or whatever in it, because it will again help you. Even though that you may waterproof the material, something may get underneath it. So do it that way. The pass-throughs. Utilize this cord for a center pass-through for something large like an axe or whatever. If it'll fit through that hole, we're great. Utilize in the individual center, these 3 pockets. Utilize some sort of liner. Bread bags do good for this, for down and dirty. Snap it back in place. I typically would organize these exterior pockets to tool sets. Okay, so my fire starting kit and etc. was in the center one. My one on the left was my water purification and stuff like that. My one on the right would then be a first aid kit or something like that. You can divide it up that way. My clothing and stuff go inside on the bottom of the bag because that's the least thing I'm going to need. And then I stack by need from there up. When I first flip it open, the thing on the top should be my tarp, because I'm going to be putting up a ridgeline and a tarp in a rain before I put anything else out, right? So I want it right here on top. Any kind of rain gear, whatever, needs to be right there on top. This, reconstitute it. Go get you some Flex Seal and paint this. Make it waterproof by spraying the top. That's going to make it more waterproof. In here, in this pocket, is a good place to put your gloves, your quick grabs, your things like that I can get to while it's cinched down. But be aware that when I torque this thing down, anything in here is going to be compressed. So don't put anything in there that's fragile and could get broke. By running through those existing original loops, they act as guide to keep this strap always in position so it doesn't go out of the way. So I just lift it right back up and relock without having to hunt and figure out where it is and, oh, did I get it crossed, etc. I've got a quick grab handle now that I can just grab, and it being this rubber fuel line, which is cheap, is easy to get. And by using just bank line, if it starts to wear out down the line, I can replace it, right? It's also an emergency source of tubing if I needed it for something. I would have it right here. But since this is fuel line, it stands up, see? I can lean it back out of the way, but it's not going to be in my way, but it's always a quick grab, and it always feels good to the hand. It's not going to be something that burns in. Some guys go and put the paracord type bracelet, cobra braids up here out of paracord. That's cool too. I just want to be lazy and not put so much time in it. My hip pad, make sure that it's adjusted for you at the height you want. Now, it is supposed to be on the center, but there is, if you look at it, it's not exactly on center. I flipped them upside down before to make it go a little higher, a little lower. Okay? I want it to ride on me about even with the bottom of my pants belt. So it's riding on my kidneys. That makes a great big space right in here. And those spaces can be utilized right in here. Since this is opening, I can shove something up underneath here and let it sit on the frame down there. I've taken and folded up ponchos before and anchored it in here. Remember, this strap is the whole bag strap. So this goes tight when I pull it tight, and this goes loose. So I could tuck something up under here in this pocket, and it would just pull it back tight against the frame. More useful. How about one of them small pencil sets like I talked about recently? Let me grab that right quick. Okay, one of them pencil kits. Remember I told you how these are great, Condura, and they're good for carrying tent stakes, something, whatever. How about that hook knife? How about those carving tool sets or whatever? How hard would it be now to come in here and put it right there? You won't even know it's there. It's not going to bother you. All I got to do is there's enough space right in here. I have come in here before and made myself like a little shelf that I can drop something down into. Down in there is a pocket to keep it in position. Since this strap tightens up, I can easily put something underneath that with a toggle, let's say. So when that goes tight, that can't fall out. And it'll be right there. But when I unhook it, there's my tool set. There's my tent stakes, whatever. They fit down in that pocket right there. Up in here, see, this is going to be against me, but something soft could be put in here. I've taken U.S. Army sleeping pads before and cut a sitting pad, just something for me to sit down on the wet ground, and stood it up in here by forcing it up under here and letting it just sit against the frame. You never even know it's there. But the advantage to that is when I stop and I sit down, I can just pull it straight out. The shelf is the best addition you can get, and why they didn't just go ahead and permanently attach it. As I said, it was a throwback to the old pack boards. So without this pack on here, could I then turn around and utilize this for, say, carrying a 5-gallon fuel can or carrying ammo for the mortar or whatever? Yeah, that's what it was for. And that's one of the reasons for that big arch back there. It was to shift the weight of the long mortar tubes and stuff like that. It'd be up over your head being carried in that. So like recoilless rocket rounds and stuff like that. When this was being developed, they still utilized that. So, and in fact, in Afghanistan, they brought the old recoilless rifles back out and were utilizing them because it was a great way to knock on a bunker door. Was an old World War II recoilless rifle round. Does a good job. Reloadable, does a great job. So, in conclusion, that's just some of the Alice. I carried the pack for 15 years, maybe 20 years, to be honest. I got one early on. I had canvas packs, I had Vietnam packs. They were surplus everywhere. I carried it mostly without a frame. When I did decide to go with the frame, I found that adding on that shelf was a big advantage. If I couldn't find it, I would go make a shelf of some kind. I have taken and had a L-shaped piece of metal bent up at a machine shop just to have it put up there to act like a shelf. That way the pack stands up whenever I take it off and I sit it down, you know, and it doesn't always fall forward, which always irritated me because I take it off and I sit it down and it won't stand up unless I lean it against me. I want it to sit up so I can dig down in it and get something out and not have it fall over in the mud, you know what I mean? By putting that shelf on it, it'll stay up, or at least try to, and give it an honest chance. Now, the cinch cords, where to get them? A lot of your backpacking places have the cinch cords, like those cinch straps with buckles on them. It's a standard item in a lot of backpacking shops. You can get them that way. These were military issue, and they were simply a quick, I think it's quick buckle cinch cords. They're surplus, you know. I picked them up like 2 years ago at a garage sale. Somebody had them where he'd brought them back from the Mediterranean or something, where he was deployed over there with NATO. So they're a U.S. issue, and so they were quick and handy. But the point being, is I want those buckles right there. So I just go click, click, and it's open. I don't have to sit there and work, you know, and fold things out of the way and then fold everything, make sure, and snap, snap, I'm open, snap, snap, I'm closed. Hope you've enjoyed this, guys. If you do, please leave a like, share, and subscribe for me. Throw a comment down there. Let me know about when you used to carry these Alice packs. Some of you guys are going to want to bite my head off for cutting out that shelf, and I know it, cutting out that pocket. Go ahead and tell me what the uses you had for that pocket down there. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.